Lions just recovered a fumble.
Bits of wisdom.
It's Harry Houdini, I'm pretty sure.
That's when it kind of becomes Home Improvement After Dark.
I guess that leaves us at the question of the week.
Very good. I don't know if you noticed, Jordan, but a really cool aerial shot of the table. Reasonably funny.
User review.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Home and podcast time.
That's right, a company that lunches with Binford Tools is proud to present a Home Improvement Podcast. My name is Adam, and I'm joined by my co-host, Jordan. Hey, Jordan, eat garbage!
Oh, no! How dare you throw garbage at me this early in the morning?
It's not a great way to start the episode, but that is kind of that's the best part of what we're going to cover today. So I just wanted to get it out there early, and I may get it out there often as well.
Yeah, you might as well.
Yeah.
I'll have a lot of questions about it once we get there.
The logistics.
But yeah,
sure.
Just the garbage logistics.
Yeah. Speaking of
that's
garbage,
something...
didn't you say you want to talk about the Grammys?
Great segue. We talked a little bit about this before the show started. I don't really like the Grammys. You don't really like the Grammys.
I've never watched the Grammys. Never a full Grammys show. So no, I'm not.
Yeah,
not a fan.
as far as award shows go, I'm much more interested in like Oscars and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I guess I just know more of the artists and pay more attention. But I don't even. What is music? You know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even. That's tough to answer. Like what? There's that song that Madonna had back in like 2000 that was called Music, and it was like
makes the people come together.
Music makes the people. So I think that the idea is that music does make people come together.
Just not us
right now. It doesn't necessarily bring us together, but we have Home Improvement to do that amongst many other things. So
yeah, but the only reason we're really talking about this is because of Katy Perry. Really,
yeah.
She performed at the Grammys. She had some psychedelic glasses and a white pantsuit.
You should say that you did watch this. You should say.
I did watch this. I had a friend visiting, a friend of the pod, Anastasia, I should say. I'll give her a little shout out because she does listen. And she wanted to watch the Grammys, so I obliged. And I guess I regret it, but I don't regret seeing Katy Perry's performance because she put up a fence, a nod to probably political things, but it looked a lot more like Wilson, and Twitter noticed as well. So a lot of comparisons with Wilson in the fence and Katy Perry with the fence, and
she was.
I liked that part of the Grammys.
I didn't watch. She was. I'm gonna find a picture. She was singing behind the fence. Or
yeah,
what was
she had
doing?
there was a whole bunch of stuff going on, but there was like a neighbor fence, like just a white fence that you would see in a neighbor's yard.
I see it now.
And her head was just popping over, which we've seen that a few times in the 34 episodes that we've covered. So it was noticeable right away by.
You say political, I say a nod to Earl Hindman. I mean, I think game recognizes game in some respects, and Katy Perry just kind of shouting out. Yeah, I do see the photo now. That is weird, and it does look exactly like the Home Improvement fence. So, and you say this kind of blew up on Twitter.
I wouldn't say it blew up. There were probably a lot of other things that were more interesting, but it certainly caught my eye and some other people's eye who were watching.
Yeah, just their singular eye. Though, not their eyes.
Yeah, then a lot of Cyclops.
It's like that, yeah.
Cyclops eye.
It's that episode of The Twilight Zone where they're in the diner and the guy pulls off his diner cap and he has a third eye. Classic. Who hosted?
It was James Corden.
So it was.
He was all right, actually.
Heavier Jimmy Fallon, I guess you would say. As long as Fallon hosting. I guess as anyone that follows me on Twitter, there are 66 people, I think. So anyone that follows me on Twitter knows I couldn't see the Golden Globes, so I don't know if Jimmy Fallon did a lousy job, but I can assume that I would not have been into it. But I was still sad to have not been able to see those. Not sad to have missed the Grammys though. Just not my kind of show. I don't.
Not your bag.
It's not my bag.
Do you think there's any clips of the Golden Globes on YouTube? My guess is yes.
The Golden Globes for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I don't.
You just want to watch it
I like
live.
watching it in real time, yeah.
Otherwise, you lose the context.
IRT, in real time. Yeah, that's kind of how I live. But Yeah, well,
The
that's
struggle of a cord cutter.
amen. But this is interesting. Yeah, it's not too often we get something contemporary that relates to home improvement. So, good deal. Jordan,
Thanks, Katy Perry.
thanks, Katy Perry. There's no need to cue the grunts this week, but coming soon, there will be some more grunts to cue. I did notice in this episode that the initial like sound drop or whatever from our bit of wisdom clip did come from this episode. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, actually, like a couple
Really?
came from this episode. Yeah, even Dave got in the act. I think one of those grunts is now Dave.
Oh, Dave,
He really just
rat.
episode. He spoils the episode. He spoils our wisdom clip. It's just
Yeah, it's bad all around. But
bad all
with that
around.
in mind, let's talk about this week's episode. And this week we're covering what, Jordan?
episode 34 is going to be Let's Did Lunch.
All right, and we have some Tony Topola help this
Well,
week.
before that,
Yeah.
we've got some details.
Sure.
This was written by Howard Michael Gould. He's going to do 2 episodes in the series. So the last couple have been like almost one-offs.
Mhm.
You know, a couple people who did only a couple episodes. Who Howard is maybe most notably known for the screenplay of Mr. 3000.
Oh, the Bernie Mac baseball film. Yeah, we should. Maybe we'll do a podcast just on that sometime when we're really hard up for things to talk about. We'll spin
For
off into that.
material.
Have you seen?
That'll
Have you
bring
seen
in
that movie?
the fans. I've seen bits and pieces. I didn't. It didn't behoove me to sit down and watch the whole thing.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what happens. So, because I have seen
No,
it.
don't spoil it. I've been waiting all these years.
Nah, I think it's important. All right. So this guy has 3. Maybe you've seen enough of it, but this is for our listeners. This is important. All right. So Bernie Mac. Great casting, by the way. Bernie Mac as a former baseball player just doesn't get any better.
Spot
Bernie
on.
Mac, rest in peace, of course.
Yeah.
He's a baseball player with like 3,020 hits, or he's barely over 3,000. So he's in the 3,000 hit club, which makes you a shoo-in for the Hall of Fame, essentially, 10 times out of 10. But then, due to some sort of, I don't know, there's some games that they have to forfeit. So now he no longer has 3,000 hits, and he knows that, and he's made his whole, like, he has like a car dealership, or he has like a whole business where he calls himself Mr. 3000. So if he doesn't have 3,000 hits, that's really going to hurt his personal brand. So he decides at, mid-40s to go back and replay those games so that he can get 3,000 hits. And guess what, Jordan? He's kind of lost a lot of his skill because he's older and he's out of shape. All right, fast forward to the very end. He's at 2,999 hits. He's made friends on the team. He has become less of a narcissist, and he cares more about his teammates than himself. 2,999 hits, last at bat of the season. He sacrificed bunts to help his team win the game. Therefore, he could not get his 3,000th hit, and the team makes the playoffs or something. So
And then he goes on to not get a hit in the playoffs, I guess.
it wouldn't count for your regular season hits.
Oh,
So
okay.
sorry, man. But yeah,
Devastating.
Yeah.
But also heartwarming.
and I got to give myself some credit. I watched that movie probably 10, 12, 15 years ago. So apparently it stuck with me.
Yeah, you really
know,
liked that film.
I really didn't know, but it's
You like baseball,
I like
so
baseball,
maybe that's
so
why.
it's a premise that was easy to recall for me. So Howard wrote that in this. There are little commonalities between the
Similarities.
two, I will say.
Yeah. If we think of any throughout the episode, we most certainly will
Most
bring them
certainly.
to our attention. Yeah. So this episode also aired November 25th, 1992. So almost like my 3rd birthday, right around
Almost.
there. So
Yeah, almost.
almost. Yeah, they did it for me. Plot synopsis, like you said, Tony Topola. I'll go ahead and take a stab at this. On Tool Time, Al claims he can distinguish types of wood by their smell, even blindfolded. Tim agrees to set up a test for Al. At home, Brad and Randy decide to build a catapult. Tim has tuned up his weed whacker with predictable results, which I feel like
That
Tony
is
puts...
like Tony always does this where she will focus on something that really plays such a minor role in the episode and then act like it's a key plot point. But that's all right.
But then specifically says with predictable results.
Oh yeah, that's a
That's
Tony,
the tagline. That's a
Tonyism.
Tony. Yeah, for sure. So Karen and Dave stop by on their way to the opera. Oh, opera! Dave asks a favor of Tim. Should Karen ask, Tim is to say that Dave was at lunch with him the previous day. He's actually seen another woman, but doesn't want to hurt Karen.
Yeah, and why he doesn't want to hurt Karen is kind of confusing the whole episode because he doesn't.
Sounds like you want to hurt Karen.
No, we'll talk about all the logistics of Dave and Karen's relationship and whether or not what happens really makes sense. We have plot keywords this week, Jordan.
We do? I didn't see those. I'm excited
All
to
right,
hear them.
so they are wood, catapult, blindfold, and apology. Jordan, can you think of another movie that involves? I'm not going to say a blindfold because that's going to get kind of sexual for a family podcast like this. That involves a catapult. That's tough. Another film that involves a catapult.
Was there any in like Monty Python?
Real familiar with the Monty Python series. Catapult. I'm
The Holy Grail.
I
I
know it, but I haven't seen it in a long time.
I feel like there is one in that Robin Hood movie, Men in Tights.
Robin Hood.
Did I say Robin
Yes.
Hood?
Robin Hood Men in Tights. Okay.
That's the spinoff. Robin Hood Men in Tights.
right.
I'm pretty sure there's a catapult.
I'm thinking the first Pirates of the Caribbean film has to have some kind of a catapult on those ships. So there you go.
If not the first, then probably the second.
I mean, there's a new one coming out, so hopefully they wrote a catapult into that.
yeah. If not, there's still time. Maybe
There's those. Oh, man, I know you love Disney, but they're
I saw that
they're-
preview and I just thought, why?
they're money hungry if they're going back to the well. The fourth one wasn't any good, so why they would make a fifth? Jordan, don't even get me started. All right, don't even get me started.
They're doing a lot of improvements at the parks, and they got to pay for it.
Yeah, they don't have
somehow,
any
so.
money stored up in the bank. Definitely, they definitely need to keep making crappy movies.
I don't know. From what I heard, they've been doing a lot of expansion.
Yeah,
And it's costing
between
a lot of
their
money.
ESPN money and their ABC money and all the money coming in from Disney, they definitely need to make more crappy films to trick people.
Yeah,
into
Marvel's
going to see.
also doing terribly.
Yeah,
right?
it's a real struggle. Speaking of what could be a struggle, but is ultimately
not.
probably better than the last episode we covered, let's get into let's did lunch. Jordan, you want to start things off for
right.
us?
Yeah, let's open up on Tool Time. Al is gently finishing off some varnish on a walnut cabinet. Tim and Al are going to argue whether this is English and American walnut. And Al settles this debate by smelling it. Apparently he can tell by sniffing, sight. Also, he can feel what type of wood this is.
He's trained himself
So
to
I'm-
smell wood. I don't know how you would do that. That's
I don't
a training
either,
process I don't understand.
But here's the thing. It would be very helpful if you were lost in the forest and it was dark outside. So.
Or you could just buy a cellular phone, and that gets
Oh.
huge laughs when Tim says that he. It really shows. I guess I'm sort of surprised that cell phones were even in the mix in whatever 1992. But
It's
the
the
way
big
that Tim
brick
says
ones.
it, like buy a cellular phone, the audience is just like, "Oh my gosh, a cellular phone! What a riot!"
And at this point, Al can smell wood. I smell a competition coming on, and that's just what happens. Tim says on the next Tool Time, there will be a smell competition with Al, and he'll
It's not
be
really a
blindfolded.
competition though, because Tim doesn't do it himself.
He
he
never
can't.
plays by the rules either.
I mean, call me a child, call me a rebel, call me what you will. Say I'm old-fashioned, say I'm over the hill. But when they kept saying wood smelling, I couldn't. I was getting a little giggle, just a little giggly with all the wood smelling talk. But hey, that's just me talking. I'm sure that didn't make you chuckle at all.
No, I'm a little more highbrow. Remember?
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's the cold open. It sets up a little bit of what's to come, not in a spectacular way, but what's to come is not especially
Spectacular by any
important
means.
anyways. So all right, so side yard, you got the boys. They are plotting to get the McGurns back. So the
Scheme,
yeah,
plot.
the McGurns, they kind of linger. They loom like a dark cloud on a warm summer's day that is poised to ruin your picnic. So the boys are planning to get McGurn back. I had hoped for a second that this was going to kind of be an up your alley situation. Kind of getting the gang back together for one final job.
Man.
But it really wasn't because they only really show the beginning and then the end. But they're going to use a catapult to.
Those encyclopedias are coming in handy.
I don't. What was their plan? I know that they're building a catapult.
They want to build a catapult.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's what happened. Apparently, the Taylor boys threw some mud balls at the McGurns, and they got Mark back and covered him with mud. They made him like a mud boy. That was their revenge move. So Brad and Randy are going to come to the defense of their little brother by building a catapult and launching something smelly. They talk about, should they launch Mark? Should they launch Mrs. Bocher's almost dead dog?
Yeah.
And then Brad says, "No, I know what we're going to do. Let's throw garbage over at him."
Yeah. Yep, that was it. Mark, the dirt that they have on Mark's face is it looks about as natural. They just like put it in very specific areas, and it's very like shaped and kind of contoured. But yeah, they're setting up a plan, and we're not going to really see them working on the plan, but we are, like I said, we are going to see it kind of come to fruition at the end in just a magnificent manner. So, all right, inside, Tim, he souped up the weed whacker.
With predictable results.
And I tell you what, if you think that weed whacker is going to play a big part in this episode, you are wrong. So
wrong.
He souped up the weed whacker, and he takes it outside, and then because I guess they were busy this week, they didn't really want to show it, so they showed Tim slightly. He's kind of off screen a little bit, and you just see outside the clear doors, and they just show like shards of material being kind of tossed in there, so we can assume that his clothes are getting ripped up from the weed whacker.
Yeah, and I assumed some of the ground maybe too. It was quite a mess coming out, and at the same time, there's a knock at the door, and Dave and Karen are arriving. That's what it sounded like. They snuggle while they're waiting at the door. I don't know if you noticed.
They're the happy couple.
They are the happy couple. So we saw this, I don't know, was it like 3 or 4 episodes ago now? Maybe even longer?
Longer. Yeah. I can't tell you how long, but definitely longer than that.
It seems like a real long time.
Lifetimes ago, yeah.
But apparently it's about a month ago in the Taylor universe that Dave and Karen have been together.
Well, Tim's arm is broken and been fixed in that month. Because Tim like broke his arm in an episode since then, I feel like, and then it was fixed the next day. So it's a different time. Time and space is fluid in
all
the
relative
Home Improvement universe.
Just like Einstein said.
Mm-hmm.
So like you said, they're walking into the house. There's mounds of dirt in Tim's pants flying. What he claims is a success of the weed whacker, and he comes inside. Turns out Dave and Karen are going to go to the opera tonight.
La Boheme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't had an opera sighting for a few episodes.
Yeah,
so.
It's freaking good to have it back, too, let me tell you.
Yeah, we really missed it. So Dave invites Tim to go to the opera. He says no, he's married, so he doesn't have to do that type of stuff anymore. And then they go on and having...
What Tim should have said is, no, I'm a husband, so I don't have to do that stuff anymore.
Pretty much how it goes down. Karen says that they start talking about Karen doing things that she doesn't necessarily like, and she says no, she loves football. And they talk a little bit more about the logistics of football.
It's your classic lady sports banter, because women just don't get sports, if you know what I mean. So it's just they're just stumbling through it. They're saying words wrong. They just like to watch it because of the men's butts. It's really, really good. So yeah, I mean, Home Improvement. They just know that women don't get sports. There's just something about them. It just doesn't connect. I'm
really
kidding.
Hope our audience.
I'm kidding.
I was gonna say. I really hope our audience can tell.
I'm kidding. It's they've done this so many times where Jill and Karen.
They've had whole episodes based around it.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
yeah.
If I were a woman, I would be offended. As a man and a sports fan, I'm sort of offended. It's just dumb. They just continue to do this thing where it's they're mispronouncing names. Jill calls a huddle a cuddle. You can see how Howard went on to such fame as Mr. 3000 based on this kind of sports dialogue.
Hey, he must have improved to make you remember all of the plot to that movie.
I think that says more about me than him, frankly.
As everything does. So Dave and Tim escape outside, and Dave needs a favor. He needs a lie from Tim. He has seen someone else. He tries to make Tim into this little lie where yesterday he got lunch with this blonde, but he is having Tim say that they got together. He had a ham cheese on rye. I'm trying to think of what else comes out here.
I don't know.
Really, Dave puts him in a real tough spot. He actually told Karen already that they wanted
he
to
doesn't
stay.
even he doesn't even give Tim like the choice. He's already told Tim about it, and Tim immediately, he's like, no, I don't. That's too big of a favor. I don't want to have anything to do with this. And Dave says, come on, man, just do it. Just help me out. And then I think Dave just kind of heads inside, right?
Karen comes out.
Karen comes out to get him because they have to go to the opera. And then
Right.
Tim just sort of lingers out there, and that's when we get we get our fence scene with Wilson. I think we're going to go ahead and play a clip here.
Wilson?
Heidi-ho, neighbor.
What are you over there eavesdropping, huh?
Oh, heavens no. Just giving myself a little haircut.
Wilson, I was thinking about friends today.
You mean old two-timer Dave?
I thought you said you weren't listening.
No. Just a few juicy tidbits did waft over the fence.
He's put me in a real awkward position.
Well, are you referring to the ham and cheese, the opera, or the tall blonde?
Your juicy tidbits, Wilson? Sounds like you end up with the whole tid. Well, you heard the whole situation. What do you do? Defend your buddy or hurt Karen with the truth?
Well, Tim, I'm reminded of what Aristotle said about Plato.
Keep the lid on tight, otherwise it'll all dry out. That's what I tell Mark.
No, Tim, not Plato. Plato, the philosopher.
Oh, yeah, very introspective guy. Wore the tunics. Very nice guy. Yeah.
Aristotle said, Plato is dear to me, but dearer still is truth. Piety requires us to honor truth above our friends.
Yeah, of course. So if it comes up, I should tell the truth.
Well, Tim, there's no easy answer. It's the age-old dilemma. The high road or the low road. The lady or the tiger. Door number one, door number two.
Firing squad electric chair. It's all the same to me.
So Wilson's outside giving himself a haircut, as someone like Wilson is wont to do.
He couldn't possibly go outside, remember?
That's a recluse. So he claims to have just sort of picked up bits and pieces of what has happened. Tim says he was eavesdropping. Well, if you're outside and someone's talking next to you, you can't help but sort of hear what's going on.
I'm starting to think that Wilson is outside just for the gossip of the Taylor house.
It's suspicious. Yeah, he is outside an awful lot, year round seemingly. But yeah, he refers to Dave as old two-timer Dave. Then Tim kind of says, what am I supposed to do? And there's talk of, do you defend your buddy or do you tell the truth? Wilson, he cites Aristotle talking about Plato. Tim says, Plato. I tell Mark to put the caps on really tight or else it'll dry out. Ha 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 ha. I don't know. What else happens? I mean, there's talk of just like it's a tough situation, and there's really no right answer. I think.
Yeah, he says there's no right answer. He kind of steers Tim towards the truth, though. There's, he says it's a hard situation regardless, but he says dear still is the truth.
Yeah.
So that's that's his motto, like what he would do, I suppose. And Tim goes inside. And
when Tim goes inside, I sort of assumed that he would tell the truth, but
that's what I thought was going to happen.
Gives up on that
I also would have thought Dave and Karen would be gone already.
Yeah,
So.
well, there you go.
But they're still lingering in the house, and as they are putting in their coats, getting ready to leave, Karen brings up lunch. Asks Tim about, apparently they went to one of their favorite restaurants.
What's it called?
She asked. I didn't remember. It was like the boxing something.
Is it the boxing kangaroo?
No.
All right. I mean, for a guy that doesn't know the title of the episode, you're pretty sure it's not that, or the title of the restaurant. You're quite certain it's not that. All right, you keep talking. I'll find out.
Yeah, it's the boxing something, but yeah. So she asked about the pea soup. Apparently, it's a favorite restaurant, and he decides in this situation, instead of to tell the truth like we thought he might, he does go along with the lie. And Dave and Karen head off to the opera. They kiss goodbye, all that kind of stuff, which I don't do that with my friends, but apparently Dave and Karen do the old the cheek kiss as they leave.
I think that's very much, that seems to me like a television thing or something that was done in previous generations that doesn't happen now. But yeah, I've never done that, nor have I really ever seen anyone do that. So
no, it didn't make it with the millennial generation, I suppose.
I suppose not. So Jill immediately knows that Tim didn't have lunch with Dave, or she kind of sees through the facade, and Dave should have kind of suspected that was going to happen. I was thinking, like, like Jill is gonna know if Tim had lunch with him yesterday. I suspect, and then Jill kind of says either you did something wrong or Dave did, and Tim he delays for a little bit, but eventually, she gets it out of him because like Dave works downtown. They live 20 miles away, so we can assume. I would like to be able to pinpoint where they actually live, but that's not something we've been able to do yet. Tim spills the beans pretty quickly, as he should.
He just cannot hold up to her barrage.
Yeah.
Of, she's just.
I mean, there's
she's
no
just very
also
good at
there's no
this.
reason for him to like. It's not worth it for him. He doesn't like. If she's he should tell right away. Like, what's the point in like hiding? Dave is a jerk anyways, and Tim doesn't like Karen, but I think he respects her to a certain degree, or like respects that she's Jill's friend. So I don't know.
Yeah, I am wondering about Jill's like resolution here. She wants to call and leave a message.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem like something you would do. Like that's just a bad message to leave. At least like call and say, hey, we need to talk about something. Call me when you get home.
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, a message is not going to do this
No, you're right.
any justice. So, but they decide not to do that anyways because what does Tim have to make Dave tell her or something? Is that the deal that they strike?
Tim.
Yeah, if Tim makes Dave fess up,
Yeah,
she will stay. out of
she
it.
wants Tim to call Dave again right now. I don't. The time
On a cellular telephone.
or you could just get a cellular telephone. She wants him to call Dave right now and say that he has to come clean, which I guess is fine. And then it just kind of stops. It's the timing of this episode is weird. That scene kind of ends, and then the next thing we see is Dave. I was trying to do research on the boxing kangaroo, but I gotta stop. I'm not finding anything, and I'm getting distracted. So I'm back. Dave and Tim are back in the garage together, and I didn't know Dave and Tim were such good friends. I know it just services the plot, but they're really really buddy. And Dave thanks Tim for covering for him and says, you did really well. And Jill comes out, and it's kind of revealed that she knows that Dave is seeing someone else because she says something, it's all about timing, and then she offers him a ham and cheese sandwich, and Dave kind of picks up on the fact that Jill knows. Then Jill leaves, and Dave gets mad at Tim for spilling the beans and says, you really sunk my relationship with Karen. Tim says, no, you did. Dave is a loon. And they're working on what part of the car are they working on? I didn't take notice.
He's working on a distributor.
Okay.
Which I don't know what
Me
that
neither.
does.
It
but
distributes something within the car. But Dave got it for Tim. And as Dave,
because he's a mechanic, right?
maybe.
Yes,
I
he
don't
is.
know.
Also, I wanted to clear something up.
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt,
Sure.
but it's called the Boxing Cat Grill.
Boxing cat girl, the boxing kangaroo. I could see why I thought that. Boxing cat girl
Sure.
might be worse.
It
least
is worse.
At least the boxing kangaroo makes sense, right?
Yeah, I don't understand. I
mean, makes sense to me because I've got it in my
because
head.
that's a thing you've seen
Yes,
before.
boxing kangaroo. Well, isn't Hitmonchan or Hitmonlee, aren't they kangaroos, the Pokemon?
No.
Moving on.
Aren't they kangaroos? They are named after Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan, though.
How subtle.
I know. That's
I mean, yeah, I guess Pokemon is a Far East kind of development, so I guess paying tribute to those guys makes sense. But all right, so Dave's mad at Tim. He takes the distributor and he leaves in a huff.
yeah. He's
That's
mad. He's mad.
He's mad at Tim, which is dumb.
unrightfully so.
Yeah,
yeah.
unrightfully so. Dave is.
We thought
he's
Dave was
nonsensical.
sensitive. Isn't that what his thing was? He was a sensitive guy or whatever.
Yeah, you wonder. At this point, Karen should have turned down Dave and went out with Al. But women love bad boys, right? That's what you've always said. That's how you got your wife.
Yeah, I'm kind of the consummate bad boy.
You're a bad boy. You're a bad seed like George Costanza when he's trying
Yeah.
to see really bad in those episodes.
That's
He wears
pretty accurate.
A Yankees leather jacket and chokes down cigarettes. But all right, so later on in the episode, Tim is just, I guess he's just calling around to local auto shops looking for a distributor, and he can't find one.
You'll never guess what Jill is doing.
And is Jill cleaning the dishes?
Yeah, she's doing the dishes.
Nice. Her job offers her, she doesn't. Her job is not so busy that she can't still find time to do things she loves, like cook, clean, and
do laundry. We've
know,
seen her do the laundry already, the dishes. Yeah. She's a busy woman.
She's busy. She never sits down. The phone rings and Dave calls, and we don't really know what's being said until Tim hangs up. But come to find out, Karen dumped Dave. And Jill says, "Good for her." And he says, "No, it's weird because Dave didn't even tell her that he was seeing someone else."
My.
What the heck?
What is? There's something missing in the situation.
This is weird. Things are getting weird. This is like a murder mystery kind of thing. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, this is just like Murder, She Wrote.
Tim does try to get the distributor back from Dave, and Dave hangs up on him. So he's a little salty still.
Yeah, he's definitely a little salty. And we find out immediately this murder mystery is kind of over within a minute, maybe.
It's the best kind of murder mystery. The second the mystery is presented, it's solved.
Yeah, so apparently Karen was already thinking about breaking up with Dave. Apparently he wasn't there emotionally for her. Tim then gets mad because she did not tell him this information in this secret when he had to tell his secret to her. Which,
yeah.
I don't know. I guess...
I just didn't... This argument
doesn't make a lot of sense to me,
and I don't care. Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I don't know that they're not the same thing. Like one of them is obviously
thinking about it
worse than the other. Yeah,
and he already went out on a date with another woman, and I don't know. I guess I probably wouldn't tell Tim a lot either because he doesn't seem to be able to keep anything to himself. So
right, it would have just complicated things. Obviously, Dave is the one at fault here, not Karen. So Tim's desire to be like, "Hey, you withheld something from me," is just kind of silly.
It just shows what a Darsh can really do to all the people around him. He messes with Karen, he messes with Tim and Jill. It's just Dave's a real bad seed, like you said earlier.
Not just the same kind of
just
bad seed that you are, but
yeah. Well, just in this context, he's
yeah, sure.
He's making a lot of ruckus, and it's causing an issue for our favorite couple. So
I'll say we transition
the next scene,
Tool Time.
I will say this. Sorry, I'll let you talk about this scene, but I was just going to say this scene is definitely one of those scenes for whatever reason that I always remember.
Yeah, it is. I think it is sort of a famous scene because I also remembered it. I don't remember anything else in this episode.
No,
probably because none of it has any actual weight to it. But I did remember this clip because what happens in this clip is the kind of thing that you think is really funny when you're like 6 or 7 or 8 years old. Mm-hmm. So it's the wood sniffing demonstration that was promised in the cold open. And Al is blindfolded, and Tim has prepared a couple of samples. So Al notes that he's been fighting off a cold, which is kind of funny because he's like able to. He does so well, but he's still at a disadvantage. So the first sample Al gets is hickory. I think maybe I could identify hickory.
Sounds like we've got a competition coming on.
That would be the only one.
I'm wondering, like, during this, he also gets to feel the weight of these woods, and then he also can feel them with his hands. So he's kind of using some other senses.
Yeah, so maybe he didn't just, his training might be kind of bogus.
Yeah, nice try.
I'd like to see a training montage. I think this episode would have really been better if they would have had like a montage of Al like preparing. He's in his, he's in like his studio apartment blindfolded, and he's just like picking up random,
just huffing like paint.
Yeah, just
or huffing, not paint.
Yeah, he's huffing paint. Yeah. And then it becomes a 90s PSA about huffing paint as a kid, like one of those. What's that class? Is it called Teen Survival? That class we took. Not Teen Survival. The one that
it was health, wasn't it?
That Mr. Bruni taught.
I thought it was health. I don't know.
Was it just called health?
I'll ask Mr. Bruni.
He's pretty active on Facebook.
Yeah, I can just message him.
As I recall. All right. Well, ask him what the class is called. But it reminded me of like something that you would have seen in an early health class, like Al doing like a huffing paint PSA. So hickory. The second one, Al answers with cedar, and Tim says, but then Al says, wait a minute, it's Western red cedar. And I'll be doggone if he's not right. All right, well, as is the case in Home Improvement, rule of 3, anytime you get to the third of anything, whether it be a photo or a block of wood, it's time to put a little spin on it. So Tim takes off one of his socks and puts it on top of the wood. and Al smells it. And how does Al describe it? He says
it's a has like it's a hint of
it's
pine
a
with fungus.
It's like a Pacific, and it's a Pacific smell, a hint of pine. You know, he recoils in disgust right away. And
It
there's
almost
some
hits
fungus.
Tim.
Some fungus on there. Yeah, it almost hits Tim, and then doesn't it hit Tim at the end of the clip? Like he
Yeah,
drops
so
it and
he
Tim
tries it
falls over?
again. Like
Yeah.
he stirs up some smelling I guess prowess, and then he tries again, and immediately just drops it on Tim's now naked foot.
Nothing worse than a naked foot.
You're
Do
telling
you
me.
think this scene is funny? I mean, you said it was memorable. Did you find that to be good humor?
I thought
or
it,
what
I
would
thought
you
it was
make
still
of it?
all right.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fine. I don't know.
I mean, if you're comparing it to the Al Borland fan club, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like it's like Naked Gun or Airplane level comedy in comparison to that. But I don't know, it didn't do much for me.
I did like
but
at the start too. I don't know why, but it starts off with Tim shooting a cap gun to mess with Tim while he's blindfolded. I like that too.
to
It's
mess with Al. Yeah,
a nice touch.
Cap guns. Don't see a lot of those anymore.
No.
Probably for the best.
definitely for the best.
Probably for the best. It's like that and candy cigarettes. It's like what are we trying to do here?
It's not good for anybody.
Simulating smoking and shooting.
It made
guns.
me.
Yeah, it's-
Those are the two things that made me want to stay away from marketing. And look at me now.
Yeah, look at you now. Yeah, now you're marketing. I mean, you're not so much a marketing genius, but you are a financial genius. I mean, people are just coming to you for advice.
I can't tell you how many people
you're
I've had to fend off.
You're doling it out just hand over.
Home Improvement fans have been coming at me one after another.
You're gonna need to set up a spin-off Home Improvement like finance Twitter. I mean, you'll probably your polls will get so many more votes than ours.
Certainly more than
All
13.
right. So this is my favorite scene of the episode. No, it's not. Too soon.
Next one?
We're almost my favorite scene in the episode. All right. So the side yard. The boys are working on the catapult, and their mom comes out, and then they cover it with a blanket. And Jill is very suspicious, rightfully so, but she ultimately doesn't really do anything about it. And I think that this is probably maybe one of the truer parts of the episode, because I feel like if you're a parent, there are some cases where you just know that your kids are kind of up to something, like they're up to no good, but you just kind of let it go because what are you gonna do?
Kids
I don't know.
be kids.
Right, yeah, like she obviously knew they were hiding something, but ultimately like she just kind of, whatever. You can't worry about everything.
I'm just wondering how
they built it.
How did they take? Does Wim have? Does Tim have?
What does Wim have?
I think we're all wondering that at this point in the episode. But does Tim have just spare pieces of wood and other stuff around? And I'm impressed at these boys and what they've been able to do.
You got to believe that Brad had nothing to do with building it, and it was all Randy, because he's the smart one, and obviously Mark is.
He's playing a Game Boy. He's not doing anything.
Yeah, Mark is just like eating. Mark, it'd be funny if they pan over and Mark was on the ground just like eating the trash.
Why would that happen?
I don't know. Because there's something wrong with him. I keep saying it.
Well, he's just kind of observing at this point. Randy and Brad working real hard, like you said. I'm not sure if they bought this wood or what, but that encyclopedia
They bought it at
definitely
the same
came in
store they got the perfume at. in
Exactly.
Season 1. It's the
They
kids
probably
store.
just-
You can just
they-
get whatever you need.
They probably just stole it from the McGurns.
They probably stole it from that old lady who not Al, we're so bad with names this episode, where Brad broke her greenhouse with rocks. He probably just took some wood.
Well, I think we all know it came from Wim.
It came on a whim from Wim. Inside, Tim enters, and he wants an apology from Jill because she wasn't open with him. Snore, I would say. Like, why are we having this argument? What's the point here? Jill sarcastically apologizes, and then they both start doing Southern accents. But here's the thing. Jill already kind of has a Southern accent, so the joke didn't really work for me because it sounded a lot like her actual voice.
Yeah, Tim's is obviously a departure from his voice. Pretty stereotypical, like, white trailer park, I guess, is what they're trying to go for, with, like, the beer and I don't know.
I didn't pick up on that. But.
Well, I just assume that's, like, why else would they go into Southern accents? It just seemed very out of place and wrong to me. I don't know.
My dear Tim. Yeah, it is. I suppose it is sort of like that. What is he? And then, like, they start getting kind of playful, a little frisky. And Tim, does he spray pop on her?
Is that what
happened? He's going to spray pop on her. And then a chase ensues. But don't worry, we're not going to dwell on the chase. We cut.
Wait, the chase is exciting.
We cut to the best scene in the episode. All right. So
It sounds like you're ready to talk about this, so take it away.
I mean, I'm just ready. All right, so the McGurn boys, we never see them, but we get some really good voice. And Brad and Randy, they have the catapult ready, and the McGurn boys are off camera somewhere.
Apparently in Wilson's driveway from the...
I don't understand the logistics of the set necessarily, or what they want us to think, where they want us to think that they're standing. But the boys have the catapult ready. And Jordan, let's go ahead and play this clip, and it's a darn fine clip.
The McGurn boys are in their backyard. Okay, Brad, hurry up. All ready. Okay, everybody just stand clear. Hey, McGurns. Yeah? Eat garbage.
Oh, it's garbage. Oh, it's big trouble.
Just say you're sorry.
No!
Just say you're sorry one time.
No.
Hey, what's this?
I don't know. They said you knew about it.
Oh. It's so medieval looking. You can run, but you can't hide. I know where you live.
Hey, Taylor!
What do you want?
Eat this!
Don't be surprised if "Hey McGurns, eat garbage" ends up in our season 3 cold open, our season 3 theme.
We're gonna do cold opens before the episodes now.
I'm gonna start doing cold opens, yeah, just to kind of set things up. Shake up the format for season 3. Once we get to episode 50, things are going to change.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a hilarious sound clip. It's like very much like it reminded me of like just like a 90s movie where like you give like the kid like, you know, kind of you zoom in on Randy's face and you give him like this zinger, and you know he delivers it pretty well. It's on par with Tim's acting in the last episode where he's talking about his father having passed away. It's that good? Oh yeah, it's that good. Hey McGurns, eat garbage. So they shoot the garbage, and we can assume it hits the McGurns because they've built a very precise catapult. And then the McGurns, like the sound effects they use for those kids was really funny. It's just like a bunch of like young like Jersey boy type kids. Hey, what's up? It sounded like John Travolta from Welcome Back, Kotter or something. But I just really love that scene. And then Tim and Jill, they run to the side yard. And they see the catapult there, and Tim kind of realizes, I don't know what he realizes. He sees it, and he's like, oh, they've been working on that. And then the McGurns come back, and they say, hey, Taylor. And then they throw something at Tim, and then it freezes, and that's the ending. But let me ask you this. What do they throw? Because I think I know, but I wonder what you
What
think.
are they throwing? I just assume they return fire the garbage, because otherwise I don't know how they... That's what it looked like to me, garbage. I don't know how they did it so fast, but...
I thought it looked like leaves.
Could have been. It's November, I guess.
Sounds like a poll to me. Garbage or leaves?
Sounds like one of those 50 people polls, if you ask
Hey man,
me.
they're all solid. So it does end with a freeze frame of Tim being hit by either garbage or leaves, or a combination of both.
Yeah, it's hard
and then
to
we get
tell.
some bloopers of Tim and Jill, and we roll credits, fade to black.
Whew.
And that is Let's Did Lunch.
Let's did lunch. We certainly did. Name of the episode was pretty awful.
Yeah, I had to ask you about it before. I mean, I just wondered if there was more to it that I wasn't getting, but just the past tense of having had lunch is they did lunch, I suppose. Yeah, so it's not great. They spend a lot of time writing the episodes, and I think at the end they just sort of slap a name on it and think nobody's going to care. But guess what?
We do.
We care. All right, highs and lows, Jordan. What'd you think of this one?
I actually thought it was not too bad. Sounds like a ringing endorsement, right?
Yeah, not too bad.
Everyone kind of had something
printed on the poster.
Yeah, it's not too bad. The boys had a lot to do. I question the fact that they could build that catapult, but at least they were doing something. And we got the unforgettable McGurn boys' voices in that scene, just in general. It was nice to have a story that wasn't necessarily centered around Tim and Jill's issues, even though it became a Tim and Jill issue. It was more about Dave and Karen and their relationship struggles, I suppose. And like I said about that scene with Al sniffing the wood, like that just always stuck in my head. So, and it still was enjoyable for me. So I thought it was a pretty good episode. Yeah, the whole apology thing and the way that Tim kind of, I don't know, is treated by Dave is a little strange to me. Like the way Dave acts, I don't know.
It's not the reactions by Dave and by Tim in this episode are just sort of confounding.
They're very much a stretch.
Right.
You know, I'm glad that we got to hear the opera stuff again. You know, I'm just sad that no one yelled like.
There was no, there wasn't one of those very naturalistic moments where everyone looks at the camera and screams and then kind of winks.
Super big missed opportunity there.
It's a bummer. I probably wasn't as bullish on this episode as you were. I did enjoy watching it more than last week's episode. I think because I disliked last week's episode so much, this one, you know, it was fine to me. It was pretty much, I would say it's very, very average in my mind.
That's what I thought, average.
Yeah, okay, fine. I thought that, the Al Wood thing is, you know, it is something that is memorable and something that stands out to people, whether that's justified or not. It's okay. It's noteworthy, I suppose. Obviously, I loved the actual catapult scene at the end, not because I thought it was like good, but because it was stupid and funny. But you know, I take my laughs where I can get them.
Yeah.
The actual episode, the actual like conflict in this one, you know, it's fine. Like you said, I guess I would rather. Yeah, it's better to have like strife between another couple that's not Tim and Jill necessarily, and whether or not like I understood exactly what or the characters' reactions to certain conflicts. I guess like having Tim in a situation where he has to decide whether or not to stand up for his friend or to lie for his friend or to like tell the truth, I guess is something we haven't necessarily seen before. So I give them some credit for that, but it's not. The episode itself isn't real memorable for me. But it's fine. It's very middle of the road, I would say.
Yeah. So that's episode 34. Let's did lunch.
All right. Jordan, you want to talk social media?
Social media. Feel free to reach out to us. We always love getting, besides just hearing your responses on Twitter polls, we love any questions that you might have, any comments you might have on our episodes. You can go ahead and reach out to us at thehomanpodcast.com. We have a contact page there. We also have a donation tab if you're interested in supporting the show at all. Anything from $1 up would be awesome. And you can go ahead and reach out to us on Twitter at Homan Podcast and Facebook at facebook.com/HomanPodcast. Our email is homanpodcast@gmail.com.
That is right. So in terms of Twitter this week, we got some stuff from some folks. One in particular, Eni, I-N-I, so at EnieBaby82. She noted that in last week's episode, Where There's a Will, There's a Way, she thought that the part before Tim signing the will, she said that was one of her favorite scenes of Tim. So, you know, we may not have liked the episode in particular, but some people, you know, they have a fondness for these episodes or these moments, and when Tim signs the will, she said that was one of her favorite.
Well, I think we talked about the acting in that scene specifically, that it was kind of the signature point of the episode.
Yeah, so I understand why someone would maybe call that out. We also had a poll, and it just ended actually. So the question was,
hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. I mean, this is current stuff. Have you ever ordered something from an infomercial? All right, so 6% said maybe, but I was lit. I voted for that, so I guess that was just me, and that's not true even. So that's just me being silly. 10% said Kosaki steak knife. 28% said yes, and 56% said no. So more than half of Home Improvement Tool Time fans have not ordered something from an infomercial. I'm calling BS on
that. That sounds like a huge lie to me.
I think they're lying, and I don't know why.
I feel like we know our audience really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. Yeah. I have my finger on the pulse of these folks. So we did get 36 votes this week, which is up from the 7 we got last week. So at least it's been a consistent endeavor, these polls.
As it always is. I don't know why they would lie to us like that. It frankly hurts my feelings. But, you know, they just don't want to be embarrassed, I guess.
And it is very embarrassing. Indeed. So yeah, as Jordan said, follow us on our various social media accounts, the Twitter, always being updated, and yeah, please support us. We're very close to meeting our goal for the first year, but we need a little bit more help. So if you haven't donated and you like the show, even $5 or $1 a month or something would really be helpful to us, and we would really appreciate it. Also, again, rate and review us on iTunes. That's how people find the show.
Yeah, and thank you to those who have already donated. We
really do appreciate it.
Yeah,
sincerely.
it's huge for us. So, I guess another huge thing about our show is your question of the week, and it's time for that now.
It is time for that now. So Jordan, we're at an impasse again. I can't. I really, my creativity is lacking.
We just don't have enough knowledge about different types of wood.
Yeah, I can't ask about catapults. I can't ask about wood. I don't want to ask about bullies necessarily. So for the second week in a row, I'm returning to the 31 interesting questions to ask for you to ask on your next date from Thought Catalog. And Jordan, here's a question for you. What's the most random thing you've ever watched all the way through on Netflix?
Well, I wish they had Kid Nation on there. That would be that would be number one, I feel like.
So random. And make sure it's random, all right? You want it to be the most... It has to be random. Okay?
Is there anything more random than the 2014 series Mixology?
It's so random. And I got to give you credit for coming up with that. It's cool that you just immediately knew to go there, and I didn't have to prompt you to give that answer.
Yeah, sometimes they just
Jordan,
come to me, This is a show which got...
I've seen Mixology as well, because it came on right before... what was it? It came on right before a show that I actually liked.
What do you mean?
What it was.
It was on TV? On ABC or something?
Mixology was on ABC, and then I was watching something after that came on ABC, but I can't remember what it was. So I would catch the last 10 minutes of Mixology, and it was pretty terrible. And I would tweet and make fun of it and stuff. And then a year later, you texted me and you were like, "Hey man, have you ever heard of Mixology? Because it's pretty funny."
Here's the thing.
You were being genuine, and I felt bad.
Here's the thing. On Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 36%. Not good.
That's not good for TV because everything on TV for Rotten Tomatoes gets a 90.
Well, the audience score is 84%, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it only had one season, right? Because it wasn't that good.
Canceled. I actually thought of Mixology last night because my girlfriend and I just started watching This Is Us, which is a new show. It's pretty good. I actually enjoy it. And the redheaded dude from Mixology, I think his name is Bruce, the really obnoxious fella.
Yeah.
He was on it last night, and he's really skinny, and he's almost unrecognizable, but I was like, nah, that's Bruce from Mixology, bro.
Actually, I saw the other day, I was actually thinking about it because... what's his name? Oh my goodness. He's the British guy in the show.
Yeah.
He is on Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, which my wife just started watching, so.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's 6 degrees of separation when you watch Mixology and then you watch something else, you're like, oh wow.
Look at what all these people are going on to do.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Alright, most random thing I've ever watched all the way through on Netflix? Oh god, so many random things to choose. Alright, 2 come to mind. And let me preface this by saying, when I watched these things, it was the winter of 2013.
How come you get to defend it and I don't get to defend mine?
Because I had more time to think of my answer than you.
Okay.
So it's the winter of 2013. There was a big snowstorm that came through Michigan. Jordan, you might remember it.
It's one of the reasons I live here now.
You were still around at that point before you ran off. And I had just returned from an internship. And I had moved back home with my parents, and I didn't have a job yet, and I was just kind of laying low, and my parents were in India, and I was all alone for about 3 or 4 weeks. So I took to the Netflix, and I watched 2 shows, almost to completion over the month that they were gone. First one was Greek, the show on ABC Family about fraternities and sororities, and that was pretty bad, but I got right into it.
Oh my goodness!
And
wait, what appealed to that? What appeal did that have that kept you watching? Just the great characters.
It was just funny enough. It was just funny enough to keep going. It's also the thing where it's I don't know. I was doing other things as it was on. I could leave the room and come back and get what was happening. And I was just like, no one was around. I couldn't really drive my car anywhere because the snow was so bad for like at least 3 or 4 days when I started it. My parents were gone, and
no one could judge you for watching.
There was probably some depression that was setting in deep inside me, and I was just trying to not think about my recent failures, and I wanted to focus on Greek. And I think someone else I knew had watched it, and they had said that it was somewhat funny. So, and there's just something to be said for like, you just like sit there and they just keep coming on. You don't have to click anything. You don't have to get up. You don't have to like. There's no labor. It just keeps going. So it's easy.
The pull of Netflix.
Definitely. And then when I was done with Greek, I was like, yeah, I mean that was good, but I want something a little edgier. So I put on Gossip Girl.
Oh yeah, you got way more sophisticated.
Gossip Girl is. I mean, I'll tell you what though. Anybody out there that's seen Greek and Gossip Girl is way more sophisticated. And I really enjoyed Gossip Girl, and my parents came back and they started watching Gossip Girl with me, and I mean that's a show that really goes off the rails at the end, but I gotta say I got some good laughs out of that one. It's kind of a fun watch. I think you would even maybe get into it a little bit. And you like mixology, and so yeah, I think they're on par. So yeah, that's my answer. Those are probably the most random things I've watched all the way through.
Boy, I cannot wait to see what comes next from this list of 31 questions.
I'm only going to go to it if I have to, and it's just of late I've had to.
Yeah, who knows? It could be a staple. It certainly takes
Jordan,
out the creativity from you.
Yeah, but there's. I use my creativity.
You work so hard.
Like those opening segments. Yeah, it is hard.
Those pulls.
Yeah, the pulley pulls, especially.
Yeah, most certainly.
So next week on Home Improvement, we're covering Abandoned Family, and that just sounds like a laugh riot.
It could get dark on the Home and podcast.
Yeah, that's all right though. It's always darkest before dawn. That's what you've always said. So yeah, Abandoned Family next week, and we want to thank everyone for joining us this week. And Jordan, thank you for joining me. And I guess I should say, take care.
Take care, everybody.